Hello, hello. Have you ever been mid-home project and realized you needed to pick a white paint and panicked? That is the topic of today's Paint Color Fact Friday. Welcome. I'm Susan Grant, owner of Color Envy Design. I'm an interior decorator, 3D render artist, and interior paint color specialist, which means I use color facts and color data to get the paint colors just right for my clients in person and remotely. So let's talk about whites. So let's talk about a few facts about white. One of them is the whitest white, which I will get to shortly, and also best practices when picking a white. I very often see people online looking for the best white, the warmest white, the most neutral white, the white that doesn't lean this way or that way. And that's not really serving you because of other paint color facts that you may have heard me talk about on other Paint Color Fact Fridays. And I would invite you to check those out if you haven't already seen them. But a few of those variables are lighting, because when you change the light, you change the color. So someone's perfect, no fail, neutral white might not work with your space. And also context, what else is happening in the space? And metamerism, which I've talked about already, which is when two samples match under one light and don't match under another light. In other words, you take your tile to the paint store and you pick your white based on your tile and it matches at the paint store, and then it doesn't match when you get it at home. That's metamerism. So that's a variable that can affect how you perceive whites in your space, and why it's not a good idea to leave it to the last minute to pick a white. Very often I will get on site on a project and say to the client, so let's talk about your white. And they'll say to me, oh, the painter just said they're gonna pick a white. Are you trying to give me a heart attack? Let's talk about why that's not a good idea. And there's an example right here behind me. So let me step out of frame and show you. So this is a door, obviously, that has been painted white many, many years ago. And whether this was the original white that they were going for, or it just faded, someone said, oh, let's just pick a white when we do the trim, and look at the difference. So leaving white as an afterthought is not really a good idea. Now, the other thing I see a lot online is people talking about the best whites. I always pair this white with this color, or I always pair this marble with this white, or this white works with everything. What if you have this situation going on? So let's look at some of the whites that I see over and over and over again talked about on forums and decorating sites, and basically out there in the online stratosphere of decorating and color. So let me step out of frame here. So many people think that these are the whitest whites, and they are not, but they are the most popular that I see over and over again. So this is Brilliant White by Benjamin Moore, Chalk White by Benjamin Moore, Super White, which I see a lot of written online about being the whitest white, and also Decorator's White, very, very popular. And this one is Sherwin-Williams, and this is Extra White. So I see these talked about a lot. And as you can see by the context and the lighting, that they're very, very different. So if someone says, oh, this is the white we're going to pick, look at what could possibly happen in your space. So also, let's take a look at some of the other whites. I mean, there are literally hundreds of whites. This is just from a Benjamin fan deck alone. These are all labeled white. So that's another thing I would want to caution you about, is not getting all hung up in what the name of the paint color is, extra white, brightest white. They're really just names. And again, because of context and lighting, it might not be the brightest white in your space. So let's take a look at what happens if I put another white here. And again, context and lighting is everything, and those are paint color facts. So this is why waiting until the end of your project to pick your white, especially if you're doing a kitchen or a bathroom, is really not a great idea, because then you end up with this situation. So you really need to kind of take everything into consideration. You should be thinking about your white at the same exact time you're picking your tile, your backsplash, your countertop, all those things. Let's take a sample here and I'll show you why. I very often get called on site and see this situation. All right, I have this going on. All right, well, we picked this because it says Vidara Stark White. I wouldn't say this is stark white at all. Now look at all these samples that you have going on here. This is why white needs to be considered as important of a factor in your paint color selection as any other element in your space. So I did say that I would talk about best practices, which is bring all your samples on site with you to your space after your lighting is installed, okay? It doesn't matter what it looks like online. It doesn't matter what it looks like in your friend's house. It doesn't matter what someone online tells you it's going to look like. It matters what it's going to look like in your space. So best practices from a paint color specialist: bring all your samples on site because of metamerism, because of context, and because of lighting. And the other thing I told you we would talk about today is the whitest white, a paint color fact, which is If you look it up online, there's a lot of conflicting chat about this, but the whitest white is in fact, it is Ultra Pure White by Behr. I don't know if you can see it in here, but that is right now the whitest white, which may or may not work in your space because of all these things. So I'm not here to tell you I always pair this with that and I always suggest this white with that white. I'm here to tell you, don't make it an afterthought. Consider it as just as important of an element as all the other elements that you're picking, and pick it in context with everything else simultaneously. Your paint, your flooring, your backsplash, your cabinetry, and your countertops. So how about you? Has this ever happened to you? Let me hear about it. Tell me about your white experiences. I'd love to chat with you about it. You can reach out if you'd like to work together. I'd be happy to hear from you. And as always, wishing you and your family a very warm and very wonderful and colorful weekend. Thank you for taking the time to watch Paint Color Fact Friday. Have a great weekend, guys.